You will recall that in early 2015, Mr. Pierre Nkurunziza, or I should say President Pierre Nkurunziza, expressed his desire to run for third term. He indeed faced criticism at home and abroad, saying he was in clear violation of the Arusha peace deal and also the constitution of Burundi. However, he withstood both pressure at home and abroad and has begun his third term.
Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza began a new presidential term following his re-election to a controversial third term amid political infighting. After a month of protests that left dozens dead and prompted 180,000 people to flee the country, Nkurunziza was sworn in on August the 20th for another 5-year term. Nkurunziza was announced as the winner of the presidential election, with 69% of the vote. In Bujumbura, some residents fear the worst is not over, while others are hopeful that a new term for the president will unify the country. Although months of protests and an attempted coup in May were quelled, sporadic violence and killings continue to take place in the capital and some rural districts. Yolanda Buka, a researcher in conflict prevention and risk analysis at the Institute for Security Studies, says that Nkurunziza faces challenges of moving the country forward.
What makes the situation more difficult to solve is that it's difficult to identify from where the violence is coming from on the ruling party side and where the violence is coming from on the opposition side, because there's a breakdown of law and order and a continuing impunity, which makes it possible for groups or individuals to take the law in their own hand if they want retaliation. So it blurs a little bit the line between those who are there to enforce the law and then vigilantes.
Analysts say the violence is likely to continue unless all parties come together for negotiations. Washington is considering expelling Burundi from zero-tariff trade deals under the African Growth and Opportunity AGOA after the controversial elections last month. AGOA is a trade pact that allows African nations to sell products in the U.S. at zero tariffs, giving them the opportunity to access a huge market without paying prohibitively high tariffs. Although Kenya's Foreign and Trade Minister Amina Mohammed says the expulsion would not serve any purpose other than hurt the population even further.
Now let's check in to see what's happening right here at home in Nigeria, but also abroad in New York. Now, Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations has called for a sustainable approach to conflict resolution across the world. Professor Joy Ogbu urged members of the UN Security Council to address the root causes of conflicts as opposed to merely responding to the aftermath of these crises. She made this call as Nigeria's presidency at the Council for the month of August came to an end. Our correspondent Adeshawa Josh reports that Nigeria will hand over the UN presidency to Russia for the month of September.
The final moment of Nigeria's presidency at the Security Council for the month of August, 30 days after chairing the most powerful organ of the United Nations on issues bordering on global peace and security. Council members reflect on the agenda for the month, including its achievements within the period.
This month, Madam President, the Council covered a wide breadth of issues on the role of regional and sub-regional organisations in our work on international peace and security, on the importance of security sector reform in sustainable peace building, and on the vital need to learn from last year's Ebola outbreak and recommit to reaching zero. I'm pleased that under your presidency, you have continued to bring diverse issues such as these to the Council's attention.
In spite of all these feats, however, the crisis in Libya, Syria, Central African Republic, and elsewhere around the world are a few of many conflicts that still begs for immediate action of the Council. In her parting words, the outgoing President of the United Nations Security Council, Professor Joy Ogbu, urged members to be more strategic in their approach to conflict resolutions for sustainable results.
Let us together treat the symptoms as well as the causes. We tend to treat the symptoms rather than the causes. We must address the root causes of conflict.
After all is said and done, many agree the month of August has been a very fruitful one at the Security Council, and this obviously calls for celebrations, as it is the tradition of the chamber to honor outgoing presidents. And as Nigeria bows out as President of the United Nations Security Council for the month of August, and indeed ends her term as a member of the chamber come 31st of December 2015, the bar appears to have been raised for Africa with a renewed approach to African affairs and issues at the Security Council. From the United Nations headquarters in New York, Adeshewa Josh, Channels Television News.